For being patient, and good morning. My name is Jason Luck. I've been appointed by the South Carolina Democratic Party to serve as the hearing officer in this election protest. And for the record, this is the protest of Dillon County Council District 6 primary Democratic Party. The complainant is Mr. Gerome McLeod, and the respondent is Mr. Robbie, who are both present here in the courtroom, in the chamber, we are also here, seated around me are the Executive Committee of the Democratic Party, and I'd like, just starting with Mr. Chairman, to identify himself and run down the line, both for the record's benefit and for my benefit.
Rodney McCorkle.
Kathy Smith, Executive Committee Woman.
Rosie Dixon, First Vice Chair.
Carrie Townsend. Betty Gunn, Secretary.
Linda Manning Hayes.
Kenneth Smith.
James Ryan, Executive Committee Person.
Thank you. I'm going to count the members here at the committee. I'm going to circulate this piece of paper here. If you can just write your name out for me so we get the spelling correct for the record. And so with this, I'm empowered and authorized to conduct this hearing according to the rules of civil procedure and the rules of evidence of this state. We're hopefully going to be quick. The idea here is to get information necessary on the record and to get this issue out for consideration by the council. And so earlier on, we discussed with the attorneys that they would each, if they chose, have 15 minutes to present an opening to the executive committee here, who ultimately will be making the decision on this. And after each presents their openings, the complainant will then be able to present his case. And then once he closes, the respondent presents his case. The parties will present their closings, and then we will go into an executive session. And after we emerge from that executive session, the committee will issue its ruling. So with that, unless the attorneys have any questions or any preliminary matters they wanted to discuss, then we can go ahead and begin. We'll start with the complainant.
Thank you, Mr. Luck. Mr. McCorkle and members of the Executive Committee of the Democratic Party in Dillon County. I'm Boone Aiken. I'm a lawyer from Florence. I've been practicing law a long time, and this is my first appearance before any type of election matter. So it's a pleasure for me to be here. It's a pleasure for me to represent Mr. Gerome G. McLeod, who is the current Dillon County Councilman for District 6. During the general election, June 14, Mr. Coward won the popular vote, and we're here to contest that election. But we will present evidence that Mr. Coward is not eligible to vote in District 6. He's certainly not eligible to represent District 6. Back last year, Mr. Coward ran for mayor of Loudoun. That election was contested. There was a hearing December 11 of 2021 before the Loudoun Election Commission, and that result or decision was he did not live in Loudoun and was unable to serve as mayor of Loudoun. That matter is still on appeal, or still pending. So currently, Mr. Coward has been elected mayor of Loudoun, although that is contested. Now I'm going to call Mr. Coward as a witness. He filled out a statement of intention of candidacy and party pledge March 16 of 2022, to run for District 6 County Council. He certified on this pledge that his address was 304 South Marion Street in Loudon. That is District 4. He testified under oath before God that that was his permanent address. I've got it on tape if we need it. I suspect he'll admit that. That's what he said under oath. He also said under oath that his wife and child lived at 608 East Jefferson Street. That's District 7. He is not entitled to represent the folks in District 6. He doesn't live there. He doesn't represent the people there. District 6 is entitled to have a representative from their district. So we're here. We appreciate everybody's patience today. I'm not going to be 15 minutes. In fact, I'm up. I'm finished, but I just want to make those remarks. I will call Mr. Coward and I will call Mr. McLeod as witnesses. Thank you.
As for openings,
Mine will be brief. Mr. Luck, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Trey Cockrell. I'm an attorney. I'm in Chesterfield, South Carolina. It is absolutely my pleasure to be here and represent Mr. Robbie Coward in this election protest. I do take one issue with Mr. Boone Aiken's opening statement in regards to the assertion or allegation that this was a general election on June 14th. I believe that this was a party primary election.
I stand corrected.
Thank you. And whatnot. And as such, this was an election for a candidate to run and represent the Democrat Party in the general election coming up in November. First Tuesday in November, I don't know the specific date, but that will be the general election. Mr. Robbie Coward ran and received the majority vote in the Latta election back in the December election, as Attorney Boone Aiken stated. That matter was protested. That matter is on appeal currently. I'm one of the attorneys assisting on that matter, and that matter is being resolved and in short order will be withdrawn. However, even if Mr. Coward was the sitting mayor of the town of Latta, it would have no bearing on the June 14th election. It would have no bearing on dual office holding, as the complaint of Mr. McLeod states. And if I may just make a point or something that I'm sure everybody is aware, Senator Vincent Shaheen out of Camden, while he was a sitting senator, ran for governor. He ran for governor twice. I supported him and voted for him twice. I remember that election. He did not have to abandon his Senate seat to run for governor. Now, if he were to be elected governor, there were things that he would have to procedurally do to avoid the dual office holding, absolutely. However, whether Mr. Coward is the sitting mayor of Latta or is just a candidate for the mayor of Latta, one, he hasn't been sworn in, but that's not even a relevant issue. If he was the sitting mayor, he could still run for this seat. And the law supports our position, and I'll look forward to making those points at the proper time. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Cockrell. All right, Mr. Aiken?
Thank you, Mr. Luck. I will call Mr. Robbie Coward.
Mr. Coward, will you raise your hand to be sworn? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you. Your witness.
Are we going to mark these, Your Honor?
If you'd like your, yes.
Would you mark them?
You can hand them to me, I'll mark them, keep them. You don't have to call me Your Honor. That's maybe the closest I ever get to being a judge, but it's...
Well, you look like a judge.
That's nice of you to say.
Three.
So I will mark that as Exhibit A. The second document you handed me, I'll mark as Exhibit B.
I think just those two for right now, Your Honor. On Mr. Love.
Thank you.
Do I just sit down?
It's whatever you're comfortable with. It's thankfully the rules are a little bit flexible here, so if you're comfortable being seated, if you'd like him to sit and face the gallery or face the council, it's the council ultimately who's going to be voting on this.
The gentleman sits back to me. Do I have them or do you have them, Judge?
I have them.
Okay. And has Mr. Coward been sworn?
He has been sworn.
Good morning, Mr. Coward.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm fine. Hope you are.
Doing great.
I'm Boone Aiken. I'm a lawyer from Florence. Nice to see you. And I appreciate anybody taking the time to run for public office. So that's not why we're here. We appreciate that. You did run for this seat, and you won the Democratic primary June 14. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And let me hand you what has been marked as Exhibit A.
I don't want to interrupt you, Mr. Aiken, but Mr. Coward, if you could maybe lean closer to the microphones, I want to make sure that your audio is captured. Thank you.
Mr. Coward, this is a statement that you completed. It's called Statement of Intention of Candidacy and Party Pledge. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And this was dated March 16 of 2022.
Yes, sir.
And that is your signature under candidate signature.
Yes, sir.
And you pledged on this document that your address was 304 South Marion Street in Latta. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And is that District 4?
Yes, sir.
And the Election Commission in Latta also had a protest hearing similar to what we're doing here on the mayor of Latta race. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And a Teresa Mason is the one who protested.
Yes, sir.
And the hearing was on a Saturday, December 11 of 2021 for that protest. And you were there.
Yes, sir.
And you were sworn to tell the truth.
Yes, sir.
You raised your hand and you swore in the Bible, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you testified there that your permanent address, your domicile, was 304 South Marion Street. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You also testified under oath that you had another address where your wife and child stayed, 608 East Jefferson Street. Is that right?
Not correct, sir.
Okay. Correct.
Can I correct it?
Yes, sir.
My wife and daughter lives at 708 Jefferson Street,
Okay.
which I mean ain't no big deal. But
That's fine. I'm glad you corrected. Thank you. We want the record straight. So you testified you spent some nights there. Is that right?
yes, sir.
Okay. And that is in District 7, correct?
Yes, sir.
304 South Marion Street is District 4, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you filled out this statement of intention of candidacy and party pledge, you also paid the filing fee, March 16 of 2022. Here's a filing fee receipt. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You can't vote in District 6, can you?
In the primary, no, sir.
In the general.
Yes, sir.
You can vote in District 6.
Yes, sir.
Running for District 6.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You sound like you know some laws. I assume you probably know about Section 5-15-20 of the 1976 Code of Laws of South Carolina, as amended, Methods of election of council, mayor elected at large, qualifications. Each municipality in this state shall provide by ordinance for the election of its council. Council shall select any one of the following methods of election of council. Section 2, one member elected from each ward of the municipality of the qualified electors of the ward. Candidates seeking office from a particular ward shall be residents of the ward during their entire term of office. Right?
Yes.
So when you fill out this application to run for this position, you are not living in District 6. Is that right?
No, sir.
And you also understand you can't hold two offices at the same time.
I fully understand that, sir.
So if your election as mayor happens to be upheld, then you can't serve both. You can't be mayor and councilman for District 6, right?
I fully agree.
Okay. And one other section of law, and I'm almost finished, 7-5-610. Each citizen of this state and of the United States, 3, who has resided within the corporate limits of any incorporated municipality in this state for 30 days previous to any municipal election. Did you ever go to the appropriate facility and change this address?
No, sir.
So technically, of record, running for this seat, your address is 304 South Marion Street, right?
When I filled out that paper, that's what it was.
Okay. Well, have you changed it?
Not on that paper there I have, but I have changed some things already.
Well, what did you change it to?
945 West Calhoun Street, which is in District 6.
Okay. Now that is on your driver's license. Didn't you testify last January or last December 11th that you had abandoned that address? Did you testify to that, Mr. Cowell?
At that time, I had abandoned it.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Just briefly, Master Love. Now, this document, the statement of intention of candidacy and party pledge, you signed that?
Right there?
Is
Yes,
that-
sir.
Okay. On March 16th, 2022?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you, what office is this that you are filing for?
District 6, County Council.
Dillon County?
Yes, sir. Dillon County.
State of South Carolina?
Yes, sir. State of South Carolina.
Nothing further.
Nothing further.
Correct. All right, thank you very much. You're released.
All right.
I'm going to call Mr. McLeod. I'm going to sit across from you, so.
Cloud,
Give you a little room.
You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Your witness, Mr. Aiken.
Thank you, Your Honor. You are Gerome McLeod Sr.
Yes, sir.
You go by G,
Yes, sir.
as G-E-E.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, where do you live, Mr. McLeod?
909 West Main Street.
And how long have you lived at that address?
18 years.
And who lives at that address with you, if anyone?
My wife, Rhonda McLeod, and my daughter, Gerome McLeod.
Do you and Rhonda Lynn have 2 children?
Yes, sir.
And tell me the names and ages of your children.
Gerome McLeod Jr., which is 25 years old.
What does he do?
He's medically retired from the military.
All right.
My daughter, Geronda, is currently going to UNCP College in Pembroke.
Right. I think you worked for the Department of South Carolina Corrections for 25 years?
25 years and 6 months, sir.
And are you retired from that position?
Yes, sir. I'm retired from South Carolina Department of Correction. I'm currently working in North Carolina Department of Correction as a special operational officer.
So you failed retirement?
Yes, sir.
You ran in the Democratic primary to represent District 6
Yes, sir.
as Dillon County County Councilman,
Yes, sir.
and you lost that election.
Yes, I did.
When that election was held, were you still living at the same address you gave me in District 6?
Yes, sir.
Is that still your address?
Yes, it is, sir.
Do you have every intention of staying at that address?
Yes, I do, sir.
Have you run for any other office?
No, sir.
You have protested this election of Mr. Kyle.
Yes, sir.
And just tell this committee why you protested.
I have, after careful consideration, I actually congratulate Mr. Cowell the next day because I am a good sport. I feel like it was the right thing to do. But at my disposal was an opportunity to protest because I feel like it was unfairly the way it was done. I've been in that seat since 2018. I've been working from the heart, doing a very good job for the people. Robbie got in this race and knowing I was there for the people to do the right thing. He initially got sent word to me that he wasn't even thinking about running for District 6 because he feel like G is doing a good job. I couldn't prove that, but I know he said it. So I took that to be a compliment coming from Robbie. I have all respect for Robbie. The problem I have with Robbie that he jumped in my seat to interrupt what I was doing in Dillon with the progress we are trying to make for the people. I've been staying in that district since for 18 years now, trying to move the county forward. But when he got in this race, look where we at now. We got a circus to some degree, trying to figure out who is the next county council for District 6. I think it's unfair. I think I've been doing a good job, and the way he got in the race with that many residents, he has changed his address like 7 times in the past 5 years. The way it seemed like to me, he picked a district, jump in it, and run for it. He stays in District 7. District 7 was wide open. He could have ran for District 7, but he chose my district. District 5 was open. He could have ran for that district, but he chose my district. So I feel like it was unfair. He doesn't represent District 6. He doesn't stay in District 6. And with that, I'll close.
Let me ask you this. If Mr. Cowell's election is upheld, if this appeal is denied, would that dilute minority representation on Dillon County Council?
Tremendously, sir. For one, he doesn't stay in the district. So he don't share the values of my district. He don't know what we need. I'm in the district.
Is District 6 primarily African American?
Yes, it is, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luck.
Thank you, Mr. Aiken. All right, any further witnesses? Evidence worthy of the exhibits that you,
I've got them right here, Your Honor.
I presume you want those moved into evidence?
I do, please.
All right, they are so admitted.
I'm moving slow. I've got hip surgery. I'm moving slow.
Mr. Cockrell?
Thank you, Master Luck. If I may, I'll just sit, if that's okay.
Absolutely, whatever you're comfortable with.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. McLeod, you filed this protest that's dated June 15th, 2022?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And in it, and I'm looking at paragraph 3, but based on your testimony, I mean, you would agree that Mr. Robbie Coward could have, been a viable, eligible candidate for District 7. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And he could have been a viable candidate for District 5. Is that correct?
Technically, he wouldn't have been able, if he did it the way he did mine, he could jump in the ring.
So, but it says he could have also chosen to run for District 5 seat. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So he could have been an eligible candidate for District 5.
Technically, he stays in District 7, so he wouldn't have been eligible. But if he wanted to just pick a district to reign, he could have picked that district.
Help me understand. I'm not understanding what you're saying. Robbie could have filed to enter County Council District 7's race in which he lives. He could have
And
also...
that would have been legal, sir. But if he'd have ran for District 5, it would have been illegal because he stays in District 7.
What makes District 5 illegal?
Because he doesn't reside in District 5.
And you're basing that on what authority?
On his current residence that he actually stays in. But technically, he could have ran in district. The only, by this form that the receipt where he filed to run for candidacy, the only district technically that he could have ran for is District 4.
And
That's Mr. Buzz's district, and that seat is not open at this time.
in District 4, you're saying based on the paperwork that shows a LATA address?
304 South Marion Street.
And that, so you're saying the only and what authority are you basing this? Are you basing this on the law that Mr. Attorney Boone Aiken was citing earlier today?
I'm basing it on where he filed to run,
Uh-huh.
and that was his current residence. The address that he used.
Correct. Are you aware that the only the only elected officials that are required to reside in the district at the time of filing are state house members? In this situation in Dillon County, I believe that would be Representative Coach Jackie Hayes, or state senate seat, and I could be wrong. Not sure if that's Johnson, but in any event, those are the only two elected positions that require at the time of filing that you reside when you file.
Okay. I stand corrected. Okay. Second part of that.
Okay.
30 days prior to the election, he didn't move. He's currently still staying in District 7. He never changed to 304 South Marion Street.
Right, but we're talking about, but that is in regards to the general election. Would you agree with that?
That's a municipal election. It doesn't specify general. Check the laws. It says municipal. It doesn't specify general or primary.
Okay, let me back up. State House of Representatives, South Carolina, State Senate, South Carolina, require that you reside in the district at the time of your filing. So if you lived outside of the district, for example, if I were to run against Coach Hayes, I live in Chesterfield. On March 15th, I couldn't file for that seat, but by March 30th, the closing of filing, I would have to move to Dillon, and I could file. Okay? Now, municipal elections are governed by their own town ordinances, and so some towns do have that filing requirement, which LATA does. But this hearing today is not about the town of LATA, is it?
No, sir.
Okay, this is about county council. And would you agree that county council elections require that you reside in the district that you are running for 30 days before the general election?
No, sir.
No? Why not?
Because it states municipal. That's the laws that I got. You show me where it states general.
Okay, well, I'm gonna, you can hand that to your attorney. I'm going to just, and I've highlighted a few spots. This is section 7-5-150, and I won't get into the whole totality of everything, but the gist of it just says that the registration book shall be closed 30 days before the June primary and shall remain closed until after the second primary. And that just gets into the meat and potatoes of whether Mr. Robbie Coward could vote in this primary, meaning the June, I believe it was June 12th or June 14th primary election that was held. Then I'm looking at section 7-11-15. Qualifications to run as a candidate in general elections. In order to qualify as a candidate to run in the general election, all candidates seeking nomination by political party or political party convention must file a statement of intention of candidacy and party pledge and submit filing fees between March 16th and March 30th as provided. Section 3, candidates seeking nomination for a countywide or less than countywide office shall file their statements of intention and party pledge and submit the filing fee with the County Board of Voter Registrations and Elections in the county of their residence. Okay, if you look at 7-13-40, time of party primary, certification of names, verification, qualifications, filing fee. I'm just reading the highlighted parts. A political party must not certify any candidate who does not or will not, by the time of the general election or otherwise required by law, meet the qualifications for the office for which the candidate has filed, and such candidate's name shall not be placed on the primary ballot. Section 7-13-350. A candidate who does not or will not, by the time of the general election or otherwise required by law, meet the qualifications for the office for which he has filed, shall not be nominated and certified, and such candidate's name shall not be placed on the general, special, or municipal election ballot. I've included some other sections that may be appropriate that get into the aspects of, if you get to, in this case, it would be the first Tuesday in October, if Mr. Coward did not qualify, meaning he was not a resident of this district, 30 days before the general election, there are things that the Democrat Party can do to nominate, whether it be by party convention or caucus, to replace an invalid candidate. Now, you're not alleging that Mr. Coward is a convicted felon.
No, sir.
You're not alleging that he's incompetent and retarded or something to that effect, are you?
No, sir.
I mean, he's qualified in every way, shape, and form to hold an office. Is that correct? So, as such, he's qualified to be elected to represent the Democrat Party in the general election in November.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Any further witnesses?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Aiken?
Hey, I'll go ahead and ask one other question. Did you ever file an affidavit certifying that you now, even though you abandoned the other address on your license, you testified on the road? 945 West Cal.
No, I'm going to object. He's been released from the subpoena, as I understand it, as well as he's had an opportunity to question Mr. Coward.
I've got a right for a brief cross, Mr. Love.
I'll allow it on this limited issue that
Yes, sir.
that I see that you're trying to discuss. That issue, nothing else.
Did you ever file an affidavit with the Democratic Party or anybody else, Mr. Coward, that you have now reclaimed 945 West Calhoun Street as your permanent address? Is there
No,
anything
sir.
on record?
No, sir.
There's no form for that.
Okay. But we have his testimony under oath that he lived permanently at the 304 South Marion Street address. That hadn't been changed. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Coward. That's all, Mr. Love, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Coward, do you intend to do all you can to make certain so the party knows that you absolutely will be eligible to run and hold this office at the general election 30 days or sooner before the November general election?
Yes, sir. I've already started making some progress on doing that. I've already started that process, and I'll have it within plenty of time, you know.
Thank you.
Anything further, Mr. Aiken?
No, sir.
All right, so concludes the complainant's case.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The respondent? Have any-
We don't have anything to offer, Your Honor.
All right. So that party's presented their cases. If you want to present a closing, you're welcome to do that. Mr. Aiken?
Maybe 3 minutes.
Fine. Do you want a minute to collect your thoughts?
I'm
and
ready.
Go right into it? Okay.
What we have on record is Mr. Coward's sworn testimony. December 11 of last year that his permanent address was 304 South Marion Street in Loudoun. When he filled out this statement of intention of candidacy and party pledge, Democratic Party District 6, his address was still 304 South Marion Street in Loudoun. When the Democratic primary was accomplished, his address on record was 304 South Marion Street in Loudoun. That's District 4. He also testified last December that he also has an address at 708 East Jefferson Street, and that's in District 7. So there is no record of Mr. Coward changing his residency back to this address that he already has abandoned at 945 West Calhoun Street. So we submit he is an ineligible candidate to represent District 6, and District 6 is entitled to have a representative that lives in that District 6, as does Mr. McLeod. Thank you, Mr. Love.
Thank you. Mr. Cockrell?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the law is crystal clear here. For that matter, I could run for District 6, so long as 30 days before the general election, I am a qualified elector or resident of District 6. Mr. Robbie Coward filed. He filed at the time with the address that he held on record. He has since changed that to and is making progress on making his permanent residency at the home in Dillon, which is in District 6. And if we were here, if this date today, instead of June 23rd, I believe, if this was October 23rd, the situation would be substantially different. Attorney Boone Aikman would be absolutely accurate that Mr. Coward may not be an eligible candidate. The 30 days is 30 days from the November general election. It has nothing to do with the primary election, of which the voters have elected and spoken and chosen Robbie Coward to be their party nominee for the general election. Absolutely, the District 6 has the right to have a representative who is a resident of their district, certainly. That is why that requirement is there. However, it does not require that he or any other candidate at the party primary, whether it be Republican, Democrat, Constitution Party, Green Party, be anything but eligible to vote. I didn't hear anything about him being a convicted felon or some other reason why he's not eligible to hold this office. The only positions, the only elected positions in the state of South Carolina that require you to be a resident at the time of filing is the State House of Representatives and the State Senate. Certain municipalities have their own unique, and every city is different. I can't get into those details, but county council and probate judge and all of those aspects, those do not require that you be a resident of the district you're filing for. And furthermore, testimony from the protestant admitted that he will be eligible in November. As such, the appropriate, I ask that you certify the election and represent and confirm what the voters have asked, and that is that Mr. Robbie Coward be the Democrat candidate for District 6. Thank you.
Well, with no further testimony or evidence to be taken, this will conclude the hearing. The committee now will need to meet in executive session, which unfortunately for y'all means unless we want to all crowd into one little room, I think we're going to have to ask you all to step outside for a little bit. Record? All right, we are recording. We're back on the record. This We have now returned from executive session, and so now I will entertain an appropriate motion from a committee member.
I make a motion that we approve the protest request as submitted by Mr. Gerome G. McLeod.
Thank you, Mr. McCorkle. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. By show of hands, oh, sorry, no, as roll call vote, we agreed this would be a roll call vote. So as I call your name, please state your position on the issue. Mr. McCorkle,
I vote to approve the protest.
Ms. Smith,
Uphold the protest.
Mr. Lighty,
protest.
Ms. Dixon,
I vote protest.
Ms. Townsend,
Protest.
Ms. Gunter,
Uphold the protest.
Ms. Hayes,
I'm not here to crucify a person.
and that is that to a aye or a nay, ma'am?
No.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Smith?
Uphold the protest.
All right, thank you. With that, our work here is done. Of course, we'll be working on getting a final transcript available for parties should they be interested in appeal. And with that, we can adjourn this committee meeting. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate you being patient with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.